Greek likes really long sentences. In fact, much longer than English is able to maintain. And so translators often have to break long Greek sentences into shorter English sentences. And the problem is that sometimes, not always, but sometimes vital information is lost. In 1 Timothy 1, Paul has just encouraged Timothy to stay on at Ephesus and to continue to tell the false teachers to quit their false teaching. And then in verse 5 he says, but the goal of this commandment, in other words, the commandment to stop teaching, is love. And this love stems from three sources. Notice it's controlled by one preposition. The love is from a clean heart. It's also from a good conscience. It's also from sincere faith. So that's the triad of qualities that lie behind the kind of love that is to be exhibited in true Christian ministry. But you'll notice that verse 5 isn't the end of a sentence, although just about every translation ends it there. What's the point? Well, the point is verse 6 starts with a relative pronoun. And what's the antecedent of the relative pronoun? It's the heart, the conscience, and the faith. In other words, it's in relationship to those three that some have fallen short and as a result have wandered away into senseless babble. Now, as you look at the different translations, you'll see them trying to make that connection. ESV is swerve from these. Some translations say swerve from these things, but they're making that connection of the relative pronoun back up to here. And it's perfectly legitimate translation. You got to shorten these long Greek sentences. But notice that down in verse 7, the same thing happens. You're not at the end of a sentence, and yet you will see, for example, in the ESV, that it has a comma. It doesn't stop it, but the NIV and the CSB does put a period there. And the problem is, verse 7 starts with this very important participle, wishing. In other words, Paul is telling the ultimate reason why they have wandered away. We already know that they have, and actually if you look at the definition over here, you can see that it's to go astray by departing from moral or spiritual standards. So there already is a moral issue. It's not an intellectual issue. But the other reason is that they want to be teachers of the law. And what makes this foolish is they don't know even what they're saying, nor about the things that they're so confident about. In other words, these people are totally ignorant. They don't have a clue what they're teaching, but they want the reputation of being a teacher of the law. And that's what's driving them, along with moral reasons, to wander away from the faith. But again, even here you have the problem that if you don't continue the sentence, if you shorten it up, you have to supply something. Again, legitimate, but part of the joy of Bible study Greek is that you get to see these deeper connections in the Greek. And again, it doesn't take a whole lot of Greek to understand this, but you can see, oh, this is a participle, it's adverbial, it's telling you something about the verb wandering away. They're wandering away because they've got moral issues, and they've wandered away because they want the reputation of being a teacher. So keep working on your Bible study Greek. It's a good thing.